Hey, what's up? It's me again. You already know my name. Um, I'm here with a friend of mine. Uh,
Hey,
uh, I had another friend, but he's not with me, or he's not on right now. That I usually do this with, but I have a feeling this friend has stuff to say as well for what's going on. Let me
mm-hmm.
all right, let me take down the sound real quick. Okay, so basically, I want to talk about how the future of the fandom and what we think is going to happen to to Gen 4 and well, we already know Gen 4. What's going to happen with Gen 5 and later on and what's going to and how ridiculous people are freaking out. People are freaking out saying it's the end. It's the end. It's the end of the community. It's the end. All right. But
Friggin', and
it's not. Like, okay. But we'll get
yeah,
to that.
there's no way.
Yeah, we'll get to that though. I wanted to talk about first how I just want to give out my thank you to the show and for how much it has brought positivity in my life and just it's sad knowing that it's almost coming to an end. By now, today is August 23rd, and it's gonna end in October if everything goes right. So 2 more months, but hey, it's coming. I'm not ready. Mm.
Yeah, a lot, a lot of people, as a lot of people would say, the end is nay. But at this point, that's just a meme because I mean you see it everywhere.
Yeah, you do, but I mean,
But that doesn't mean that it's the end of everything because literally it isn't.
it isn't. Yeah, it really isn't. Like people are are just going crazy because they think that Gen 4 is basically gonna end the franchise whenever we already have another movie being planned and we have Gen 5 being planned. So I don't know why people are freaking out. It's just they don't want Gen 4 to end. Like everything has to end.
Yeah, everything ha- everything that has a beginning always has an end. There's no way to disprove that.
Like now, it's not. If you don't want it to end, think about it like this. At least it's not be, becoming another Simpsons where
Yes.
the later on and went on, it got worse and worse and
Be-
worse.
because let's be honest, a lot of things that have tried to go on and on and on for years and years on end have actually gone worse. I mean, take a look at South Park.
Oh yeah, I mean, I watched South Park growing up, but now I just can't watch it anymore. I don't like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, South Park was good when it started and it got better up until I I don't know, I think it was like season 12. That's when things started going downhill.
And I'm glad that they're ending it after 9 years because I feel like if they would have reached a season 10, that's when it got ridiculous. So I'm glad they're
Yeah.
ending at season 9 because
Yeah,
it was. Hmm?
yeah, it's a really good thing that they're ending it at this point in time because with everything that's been going on in the show, how yes, the episodes are still good, but the show's kind of going a little bit stagnant. They need a fresh start.
Oh yeah, and and then people have been rumored that Gen 5 will be more towards more young adults and more teenagers. That's really good, cool idea. Like MOP has always been to little like like young
It's
kids.
always been directed towards kids. Yeah,
Always been
it's
directed towards kids. Yes, yes.
yeah, it's been directed towards kids since it actually started with Gen 1.
Oh yeah.
Even yeah, and even though Gen 1 wasn't good and neither were Gen 2 or 3, 4 was the one that actually was the one that actually brought everything together full circle. It was see like you explained it to me before. We didn't talk about this. We didn't talk about this over a video, but he explained to me before that generations 1 through 2 were basically like rough drafts. They were like stepping
Mhm.
stones leading to the big picture.
Yep.
and Gen 4 was basically the start of something amazing.
Oh yeah, like the gens before Gen 4 it was like a little bit like what if we did this? It's like a concept, and then Gen 4 just brought it out as an actual thing and was successful.
Heavily successful.
Oh yeah. Like you got an entire fandom based off of this show. You created an entire whole fandom. Like the Sonic fandom. That's an entire fandom based off a long-running franchise. If you started a whole fandom from one generation, then it really is successful
Yeah.
for what it is.
And sure, it took a few attempts to actually get people immersed in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Gen 1 wasn't that great. I mean, the idea was solid, but it wasn't.
Yeah, like it was a concept,
Yeah,
basically.
and Gen 2, they went in an entirely different direction that just completely threw us all off. That didn't work at all.
I still remember that. Oh God.
And Gen 3, ugh, don't get me started on that.
No, I'm not going to mention it. I'm not even going to talk about that.
Yeah, I only watched 2 episodes of Gen 3, and holy Christ, I could not deal
Yeah,
at all.
and it's like you had Gen 1 that was okay. It was okay, and then you had Gen 2 and Gen 3 who just ruined it, and then you have Gen 4 who completely turned opposite end and became very good.
Yeah.
Like it was leading up to it. Leading up to the big one.
Yeah. And even then, with Gen 4, you still had nods back to the older generations
Oh yeah.
with characters that have been basically appearing and disappearing throughout all of them.
You have
Like
yeah, Rainbow Dash.
yeah, Rainbow Dash, Spike, he was
Spike.
in all of them.
Oh yeah, Spike was in all of them. I remember that. But he wasn't designed as he was until Gen
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
Lyra.
Oh yes.
Lyra was in the other older gens. I remember that. Rarity.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Rarity.
definitely.
Rarity was in the other gens. Like you had all these like the ponies you see now were in other gens, just redesigned. So if you're speculating that if Gen 3, Gen 2, if those were not great generations, but they had old ponies, and then you have Generation 4 who redesigned these ponies and made them really good, why are you speculating that Gen 5 is going to ruin them? Maybe the redesigning is going to make them even better.
Yeah,
Maybe.
and even then, with we only have just the concept art of Generation
Yeah,
5.
just
No
the concept.
actual. Yeah, we don't have any definitive
Scenes.
we don't have any definitive word from Hasbro that that's going to be the actual permanent design.
Yeah.
If that's yeah, because it's just a concept.
It's
If it is the definitive design, there will be some things changed, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be for the worst.
Yeah, people are just gonna be saying like, "Oh, Twilight's not gonna be a unicorn. She's gonna be an Earth pony." Well, guess what? Twilight. Well, here's the thing. Rarity used to be a Pegasus, I believe. I might be wrong.
Yeah.
She was not a unicorn originally.
Yeah, she wasn't a unicorn.
No.
And from what I remember, wasn't Rainbow Dash also not a Pegasus
No,
in some of the earlier
Rainbow
generations?
Dash was a princess. Rainbow Dash was a princess, if I think, or I might be thinking of something else. Because she was an alicorn.
Yeah, that is a little odd to think about, but I can definitely see. Let's see, like that's another thing. Like designs will obviously change with
Oh, yeah.
each generation, and it doesn't mean that it's going to be for the worst. I mean, take a look at Rainbow Dash now. I mean, as a Pegasus, she's just awesome in her own way. She's perfect. The same goes and the same goes for all the others. I mean, even Twilight, before she was an alicorn, she was awesome. What's to say that she won't be awesome if she's just an Earth pony? I mean,
People, it's just that we're not gonna have the same canon anymore. We're not gonna have the same universe. Well, guess what? Gen 5 has not been officially detailed yet, so people are making these excuses and these speculations that, oh, they're not going to have this, they're not going to have this. Until Hasbro says something, then you should start to speculate. Then you don't go ahead and say, oh, they're not going to have this and they're going to have that. Dude,
And
it's an early
but even
concept.
but even then, what the hell's the matter? Because honestly, it shouldn't matter at all. You can care the exact same way for these characters as you do now, and even if their designs are changed, nothing would be different. I
Exactly.
mean, because overall the characters are still themselves. There's
Yeah.
no doubt in my mind whatsoever that they're probably going to keep the concepts of the characters the exact same, just the designs will be
It,
different. And
it's the same. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. What do they have to fix? Nothing. If anything
yeah,
worked out, don't fix it. Like
and
if
look at it
yeah.
and look at it this way. Hasbro, they've been paying attention to their target audience for
Oh
years.
yeah.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah, and they want to go on stage. Like, you know how the MLP movie had adult theme, it had adult jokes, it actually had a main villain. Spoilers. It had a main villain die, like
Yeah,
literally die. That if you wonder if Hasbro did that, that may be what they want the theme towards Gen 5 when they want to make it more towards teenagers and young adults. Maybe we'll
yeah,
have more of that stuff. And that's never an MOP. That's a really cool concept that nothing it's really original to have that in a franchise like this.
yeah, and even more before the movie, the they actually covered incredibly touching topics that would only really be understood by young adults and adults nowadays.
Yeah.
Like like think with see like a perfect example of which would be the cutie map. They were covering the topic of communism.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and a forced utopia, which is not good. They covered that idea in one episode to teach people about the dangers of trying to have something like that.
Yeah, and it goes into you know how SpongeBob will say adult jokes and have adult themes and then talk about politics and stuff like that in a joking way. Adults love SpongeBob for that. That's why older audience love MOP because sometimes they do that and it catches on to the adults.
Yeah, and not to mention prior to prior to the movie, there was also that episode Tanks for the Memories where they were covering the Kubler-Ross model, which is very
Mm-hmm.
very close
Mm-hmm.
to having an episode of someone dying. Except in this case it was just Tank going into hibernation. That in
Yeah.
and of itself is a very clever way to teach younger audiences about grief and in especially when it comes to the fear of someone you love dying, and that in and of itself
Oh,
is a very touching subject matter.
we
It's
have to.
one that and it's something that I can imagine will be covered in the next generation as well, but in a much different context.
We had another episode that was sad, that had emotional topic, and that was from the Pear family. The how Applejack's mother,
Yeah,
the
it
story.
was it was basically another kind of Romeo and Juliet story, but it didn't end in tragedy. In fact the only real tragedy that we got is the fact that they're not around,
Yeah,
whether they be dead or missing. Or we're not actually given any confirmation that they're dead. They're
like
though I can though I can't imagine where all of that speculation comes
yeah,
from.
I kind of can speculate that they're dead because of how it was.
Yeah.
Like that's something that Hasbro it's something that Hasbro hints at but never says because of course it's a kids show. But if you're an actual if you're an old teen or a young adult, you could catch that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why this show yes, the whole franchise is targeted to kids and mostly girls, but that doesn't mean other people like teenagers, a young adults, male or female, can enjoy it for the messages it gives out. Like
Mm-hmm.
I from a lot of people that I've asked why like why like do they like the show? A lot of people would say the messages they give out are really good.
Yeah.
Like
Not to mention how the characters act. The
yeah.
characters act more like the characters act more human and more adult-like than we actually give them credit for.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but just that's what Gen 4 made it. That's what made Gen 4 so good. But then now it's ending, and people are just freaking out that everything's going to end now. The fandom is not going to end just by the show ending like that. There's still going to be
Yeah,
art. There's still going to be
yeah,
fanfics.
and that brings us to one of the biggest arguments about about this particular conversation. That a whole bunch of bronies out there, including people who are not actually part of the fandom, believe that the fandom is ending just because the show is ending.
Oh yeah,
That is so not true.
that
The whole because a fandom can exist long after a show comes to an end, and in this case a generation. See, like,
Star Trek.
think yeah, Star Trek. Star Trek has been around forever, and when the original series ended, that did not mean that the fandom ended. It grew.
There,
It grew enormous.
there's still conventions for it to this day.
Yeah. There, hell, there are shows out there whose fandoms are so big that long after they've ended, there's still people out there who love everything about it and are still keeping it alive.
Yeah, like yeah, the show's ending. That's all right. The show's gonna end. Let it end the way it wants to. We don't want it to keep going on because I would admit, I would say when season 7 started, I could see the quality started to diminish and was like, it really doesn't
Yeah,
have the charm anymore that it had.
yeah, it was starting to grow
It
stagnant.
was going to start stagnant, and Hasbro knew this, so they were like, "Well, we should wrap it up." And here they are with season 9, and they're finally wrapping it up. And when the show ends, it's gonna be upsetting. It's gonna be sad. It's gonna be emotional. I know, but don't take it from the fact that you still have an entire fandom who are still going to draw, who's still going to write, who are still going to do community stuff for the whole service, and you have that to look forward to. You have the whole fan to look forward to while you wait for the next generation.
Exactly. And not only that, but even though Gen 4 is ending officially, according to Hasbro, Gen 4 can still stay alive with the fans
Yes.
because we remember Gen 4 as vividly as it made itself to us. We the show will never die. That is a point that must be driven across. The Gen 4, even though it's ending, it's not going to die ever.
Yeah. There's still reruns. I mean, you can still watch. I mean, you can still watch old reruns of it, so it's not going to be gone forever.
And hell, availability is going to be made for everyone, whether it's going to be on DVD or online. You can pretty much watch it whenever you want to, and you can barely ever get tired of the show.
Yeah.
Heck, I've watched the same episodes over and over and over again on constant repeat, and
Yeah.
I still haven't gotten tired of it.
Yeah. Like,
It's definitely a fun show that I can honestly say will never die in my eyes. It's here to stay.
exactly. And that's the message that people should learn. But, either, here's my speculation. If you think that a fandom is going to end because a show is ending, you're not really a fan. In my eyes, you're not a fan because that speculates that you only joined this fandom just for the show itself, and now it's ending. You're not going to do anything else. I joined it for the show itself and for the awesome community it has. The community is what
Yeah.
makes this thing more alive.
Yeah, and that's what makes a true fan of the show a fan, because in all honesty, I joined in all honesty, when I started watching the show, I admit it wasn't anything that I expected.
Yeah.
But after watching a few more episodes, I got hooked, and I decided to be part of the fandom so that I can meet people who would share the same love that I have for the show. And I've and I have my buddy here to thank.
Yeah. Like, if you joined the fandom from the show itself or from someone else, and you would still stick to the fandom even the show's over, then that's a true fan. A real true fan. You are a true fan. You are the person who keeps it alive. Like, what would the show be if it didn't have the Brony fandom?
It would just be another show.
It'd just be another show. What's it wouldn't be anything like yeah, the show itself is special, but it wouldn't even have a type of continuation beyond it. Like you wouldn't be able to have all these conventions. There wouldn't been not a lot of art drawn for it. Like not a lot of this. So you
I
have the
mean,
fandom to thank.
think about it. It's because of us that they decided to proceed beyond season
Yeah.
3.
Season 3 was supposed to be it. Season 3 was supposed to be it. But then the whole like we wanted more and we kept buying the merchandise so Hasbro continued it.
Yeah, it was because of us that My Little Pony Friendship is Magic was able to span another 6 seasons. We
Yeah.
made that happen. We are the while yes, Hasbro got our money, they were also giving us what we wanted. They they knew how to appeal to us and they were able to do it. They managed to crank out an entire 9-season series that is with us to this very day. And while yes, it is coming to an end, we are still keeping it alive in our own way.
That is true. But all right, we're gonna have to wrap it up because it's getting past the time. But
Yeah,
I just want to say that Phantom's not going anywhere.
it will never go anywhere.
It will never go anywhere, even into Gen 5. Think of this: Gen 4 was the start. Gen 5 is a continuation. That's what it
Yes.
is. All
And
right.
hell, if Gen 5 is just as good as Gen 4, then the fandom will continue on through it.
Yeah.
I can trust you that.
Even if it isn't as good, we still have the fandom.
Yeah, I promise you, if Gen 5 is still good, then the fandom's gonna keep pushing on. We are not going anywhere.
We are not going anywhere. All right. But I want to get this. All right. So thank you for joining me on
No
this
problem, buddy.
on this discussion. I think we covered a lot, and hopefully, people will stop freaking out.